Alright, welcome everyone to another installment of Building Blocks. Today is going to be a really simple video. All I'm really going to talk about, and plenty of people have talked about this before, but I'm going to specifically apply it to deadlifting because I've had a lot of questions about deadlifting lately. So all I'm really going to talk about is internal and external rotation. So basically what that is in reference to the shoulder joint, if you were to hold out your arm like this would be internal rotation and this would be external rotation. Basically an analogy I like to think of is that if your hands were glued to a steering wheel at 10 and 2 and you tried to force them inward towards each other, that would be internal rotation, and if you tried to pull them apart, that would be external rotation. That's not quite accurate because the axis of rotation would actually be straight through your humerus, so it's more like this. For your hip, it's going to look essentially like this. This would be external rotation here, external rotation, and this would be internal rotation, so pointing your toe inward. So in reference to the deadlift, the main question that I'm getting is basically how do I prevent my upper back from rounding? I guess just some people having issues with that. And if you are properly externally rotating in the bottom of your deadlift as you should be, then that shouldn't really be an issue. So that's something I just kind of wanted to demonstrate. So I have what I basically call I would have what's called like a top-down deadlift setup. Other people would have more bottom-up. It works either way, and I'll show both. So for my essentially top-down setup, what I do is I get my feet set, and then basically I grab the bar, and I'll show you an example of what not to do. So what you don't want to do is internally rotate. So that would be going like this, and you'll see my back round. So this would be internal, as if you were trying to push your shoulders in towards each other. And this would be external, again, trying to pull them apart. So as you do that, and you can even just do it like this. Normally what I'll do, since I perform a top-down setup, is I'll get my shoulders set, externally rotated, then I'll pull myself down. And as you can see, as I do that, my back stays nice and flat, essentially. So if you were to do that in a bottom-up setup, essentially you get your feet set, and then up, while you're still up, you would have to externally rotate here and make sure you're tight, and then drop down. From there, once you're tight, all you really have to do to get the bar off the floor is then externally rotate at the hips. So really all you're doing is pushing your hips forward, and again externally rotating. Your feet aren't actually moving, but since they're driving against the floor, you're kind of trying to force this outward motion. And since your hands are attached to a bar, the bar comes up. So it's almost less of a pull and just kind of externally rotating at the hips to get them forward. So I'll just do a whole demo of my setup. And one quick thing I do want to mention is that even if your arm is supinated, you can still externally or internally rotate it. It's kind of hard when you're not holding anything, but you can still kind of force that movement without actually moving your arm. So even if you do double overhand, hook grip, or alternating, whichever way, it should still work. So basically here, get set up, externally rotate, pull yourself down, and then externally rotate at the hips, and that's pretty much the whole lift. It's just a lot of making sure you're tight and externally rotating at those hips and shoulders in order to do that in the bottom. So yeah, that's it for this one. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video. For products and apparel, as always, make sure to check the link below. See you next time. So what's actually happening here? So we know from physics that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So as Ryan pushes